City's next mayor, Zohran Mamdani, is promising to shake up the establishment by establishing a number of initiatives that lean on socialist agendas, such as a rent freeze, free transit, and universal health care. That's rattling a lot of New Yorkers and prompting promises of action from President Trump. For those encouraged or concerned by the new mayor's proposals, there's already one American city leaning hard to the left. We sent Scott Thuman to Portland, Oregon to investigate.
Ask almost anyone in America's 26th largest city of Portland, Oregon, about their city, and they go into a virtual sales pitch about the Willamette River, the abundant nature, food scene, and friendly residents, all of which checks out. But they also can't ignore the very real challenges they face that have of late altered the feel of that laid-back lifestyle. Crime, a high homeless population afflicted with drug addiction and mental illness, and taxes in Multnomah County that rank second only to New York.
This is all new home furniture.
For Pamela Paulette, who's owned her store, City Liquidators, for 4+ decades, the system has been failing for too long.
People don't feel safe. The homeless need, we need to be safe and they need to be safe. And what I see and what I've experienced in this last 18 months is that it's a different demographic. They're younger, they're on drugs, and they're violent.
But it's not just about what she sees on the streets that worries her. It's also City Hall.
There are, a handful of council members now who describe themselves as socialists.
Correct. Yes. Scary.
Why do you say scary?
Well, because I know what a socialist is. They're not representing me or a lot of my customers.
And that, some critics claim, could be a preview for other major cities like New York, about to go through another notable change.
I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
34-year-old self-described socialist Zohran Mamdani promised to raise taxes, freeze rent prices, and had advocated for defunding the police, only backing off of that stance late this summer when his political future began to shine, which mirrors some of the elements of the progressive push in Portland that now has 4 socialist Democrats on the 12-person city council. They call themselves the Peacocks, short for Progressive Caucus. They recently doubled down on Portland's sanctuary status, making it a legally binding city ordinance. Other plans include increasing protections for renters and redirecting $2 million from the police to city parks. They also want to raise taxes on the rich. Army veteran Mitch Green is among them and says that label socialist is often misinterpreted.
Would you describe Portland as a socialist city?
It's mostly a progressive city, and a lot of those people identify in the modern period as democratic socialists, which is sort of just worrying about universal access to goods, things like housing, healthcare, childcare, taxing with a progressive tax structure, so that way the wealthy pay a larger share than the poor.
And then what do you say to critics who look at a lot of socialist programs and ideas and say, well, it's just more free stuff for more people that other people have to pay for?
I would just say that everyone is currently paying for the costs of underinvesting in those resources. And so we can pay up front and provide a meaningful life for everyone, or we can pay on the back end where people have suffered and it's probably more expensive.
Though some business owners say with high taxes, a 35% vacancy rate downtown, and one of the lowest police to population ratios in large cities in the country at 1.26 officers per 1,000 people, they simply can't afford more expensive social programs. On the streets of Portland, debate over the socialist movement.
I am all for socialism. As you said, that they're new. There's a huge learning curve on that council because they're a bunch of noobs and they're all learning how to work together.
Am I a Democrat? Yes. Do I believe in what they're doing? Absolutely not.
Dan Mason is one of Oregon's representatives to the Republican National Committee.
I think a lot of the big government Democrats have been running Portland for a lot of years, and we have gone backwards. We've lost employers. The quality of life is continuing to deteriorate.
What do you think of the idea of having 4 people who say they're socialists on the city council?
No, it's terrifying because I think it's, anti-capitalist, anti-free enterprise, and that's not going to attract, the small business, the small restaurant, all the different, things that made Portland great.
The councilman we spoke to talked about a kind of a coast-to-coast movement or revolution for socialism, whether it's here in Portland or whether it's in New York City with Mamdani.
The Portlandia experience, coming to a city near you should be the most terrifying thing out there, because especially if you live on the East Coast, if you live in the South, you can look at all of the experiments that the city government has tried to pull off and see it hasn't worked.
You're saying if you're in a city anywhere else in the country and it starts to feel like Portland, they should be concerned?
Absolutely.
So just how far and wide could concerns be over socialist cities? Well, if members of the Democratic Socialists of America on city councils, including in Portland and New York City, are the beginning, there are at least 8 other cities with socialist or so-called progressive representatives on their councils. For Full Measure, I'm Scott Thuman, Portland, Oregon.